why is this show so obsessed with dicks? You know, this is a little unusual for me. I don't normally do first impressions, since I like to have more of substance to say on a show when I make a video on it. But Dandadan's kind of been consuming my thoughts lately and, well, I have my own channel for a reason, I guess. At time of writing, only 9 episodes are out, and I do plan on reading the manga after I finish this video, so I might give the show a full review at some point, but for now it's just my initial thoughts. Another unusual thing I'll be doing is starting the video with my criticisms, which I normally say for the end of a review, but my criticisms will be doubling as content warnings, so I think it's important to just put this ahead of everything else. If you're already a fan and you don't want to hear me criticize the show, skip to the timestamp on screen, but if you haven't watched it yet and you're on the fence, please listen to what I have to say. It could end up being important. Okay, so if you're easily upset by the topic of sexual assault, or just made uncomfortable by sexual topics in general, you probably shouldn't watch the show. The very first episode includes the stripping and attempted rape of the main female character, Momo Ayase, by a group of aliens, followed by her being forced to fight them in just her underwear, none of which I'm showing because I love my channel and want it to keep existing. But trust me when I say that it happens, and there are a lot of people that could find it incredibly upsetting, so if that's you, you should probably stay away. In the interest of fairness, I will say that it's definitely framed differently from how most anime would go about it. It doesn't go through with the heinous act the way Goblin Slayer does. Framing is important, and the camera is never angled in a way that sexualizes what happens to her. However, if you're someone with trauma, the framing isn't going to matter as much as the fact that the scene exists at all. The people who recommended the show to me never gave me any such warning, and because I actually care about how a piece of media might affect people, I'm giving you this vital warning now. There are things to enjoy about the show, but the first episode may offer a significant hurdle for some people. The second big point of criticism I have is the sexual harassment of the main male character, Okarun. A lot of the humour revolves around the fact that he has his junk stolen by a ghost, and his obvious distress is treated like a joke, which is something I hate. A lot of characters won't stop commenting on his dick as well, and there's a scene where Momo's grandma chases him around and tries to pull his pants down to take a look at it. I know this is intended as a sort of subversion of the usual anime trope of sexually harassing women for comedy, but here's the thing. Sexually harassing a minor is still sexually harassing a minor, and it happening to a boy doesn't make it any fucking better, it's still gross. I'm sure some really sad people will argue otherwise, and if that's you, fucking go to therapy. Because you obviously have issues to work through, and I don't want to see you working through them in my comment section. Sexual harassment isn't funny, and I'm tired of weebs trying to pretend it's weird when people have an issue with it. Finally, and this isn't a complaint, it's just another content warning, if you struggle with witnessing violence against women and children, then episode 7 might be a bit much for you. It's a powerful episode, but it can be very hard to watch, so I'd prefer you went in prepared for that. Okay, with those out of the way, and for a brief summary of how the show starts, Dandadan is the story of Momo Ayase, the granddaughter of a famous spirit medium, and Okarun, a random paranormal nerd of epic proportions. Well, I mean, his actual name is Ken Takakura, but
if you use that other name, I'll kill you.
Yeah, we're just gonna call him Okarun. Momo meets Okarun after her boyfriend breaks up with her for not putting out, and she ends up sitting next to him in the middle of her moping, prompting him to info dump, which leads to them pissing each other off because she doesn't believe in aliens and he doesn't believe in ghosts, so they agree on a simple bet.
I dare you to go to someplace haunted, and the deal is if you end up seeing a ghost, you have to be my gopher!
Only if you go where there's UAPs, and if you see an alien, then you have to admit they're real and be my gopher!
Turns out both are real. What a crazy world we live in. She gets abducted and he gets cursed by Turbo Granny, they jailbreak from the spaceship and end up practically naked and phoneless on the side of the road. All of this happens in the first episode, by the way. Yeah, the show's a wild ride. So you may be wondering, if I have such big criticisms about the show, then why did the thumbnail say that it's my new guilty pleasure? Well see, if you can get past the prior issues, and I almost didn't, then there are some things you might really enjoy about the show. And I'd say the biggest selling point is actually the relationship between the main characters. Momo and Okarun have a really good relationship that I just really like watching develop. Those who've been watching my content for a while, or even just a few months really, know that I'm a big fan of romance and the many different forms of love, but I'm also fairly critical of it, with my biggest complaint being how often writers just don't put in the work to make a romance feel real in any way, but that's far from the case in this show. Even if I hadn't been told that the two were going to end up together, it's pretty obvious the show is heading that way, and I'm all for it because these two are a delight. They have really good chemistry, and that largely stems from how good their friendship is. Due to the nature of Turbo Granny's curse, Momo has to constantly be near Okarune to suppress his transformation, and this allows them to naturally develop a strong rapport as they work together and grow closer as a result. Sort of a friendship forged in fire situation. But more than that, the two are just adorable. Once the danger dies down and they go back to a relatively normal school life for all of 5 minutes, they just naturally fall into being really affectionately friendly. Like, you look at the scene and tell me it's not the cutest thing ever.
I want to talk to Miss Ayase about ghosts. And she totally wanted to talk to me too. But I was so nervous I couldn't. She must think I'm a jerk.
I want to talk to Okarune. I want to find out what he thinks aliens eat, and if they poop or wear underwear.
How could you be such a dumb dummy, Ken?
I want to talk to Okarune.
I have to fix it between us or she'll hate me forever.
I want to talk to him. I gotta talk to him.
You can't do it, it's too damn pure. Hell, Okarune has to be told that Momo is a cute girl to even start seeing it. He's just so happy to have finally made a friend. And the two also get angry on each other's behalf, just like real friends should, with Okarune coming this close to murking a guy for calling Momo a slut, and Momo dropping a washpin on the head of some unimportant random extra who dared to make fun of her best friend where she could hear it. And even when the two fight, it's clear they still really care for each other. I've often found that my problem with a lot of romance is that it doesn't feel like the two participants really seem to like each other, and I get the same vibe from a lot of anime where people are supposed to be close friends too. If I can't imagine them just hanging out and enjoying each other's company, how can I imagine them as loving each other or even as friends? But it really does feel like Momo and Okarune just want to hang out, and you can easily picture them just doing that. I got the same feeling from the main trio of Kaiju number 8, which is one of the reasons I love the show. I just really like seeing friends being portrayed as people who like each other, which is oddly rare in a lot of media. The rest of the cast is pretty fun too. Seiko is a badass and her rapport with Momo is hilarious. Turbo Granny is a massive cunt, but she never stops being entertaining. And even the pink-haired girl of no real concern is enjoyably cringe. It's a pretty strong cast all around so far. The action is also really good. Because the main characters start out so much weaker than most of their enemies, not counting the sexual assault frogs, that means that they have to be clever or creative with how they fight, like Momo letting the Flatwoods monster pound a deep enough crater in a stone wall to technically set them outside a barrier, or utilising the train to make a quick getaway. Momo kind of ends up being the brains of the operation, either despite or because her abilities are powerful, but more focused on utility than anything else. She doesn't have the brute force that Okarune has, and his usage of that power is limited, so she ends up being the one who assures victory more often than not. The show is also genuinely funny when it's not focused on sexually harassing Okarune. Like, here are some of my favourite moments that have nothing to do with a teenager's dick.
Someone with incredibly bad timing is trying to contact you.
Going all out!
Yes, helicopter! Good idea!
I'm done.
And her!
What?
Something's up with her, cause she can't be your grandmother. She's too young and way too hot!
What was that now? You're awfully sweet. And Momo is a demon.
Shut it, you old bag!
The show even has a Roadrunner-esque chase scene set to a remix of the William Tell overture. It's crazy how well it works when it tries. This is ultimately Dandadan's biggest problem. It's so good when the focus is on the relationship or the batshit plot about ghosts fighting aliens, but it spends so much time sexually harassing a teenage boy and having aliens sexually assault people that I cannot in good conscience recommend it to people without first giving them some serious warnings about all of that and the show's weird dick fixation.
I'm gonna gobble all your dongs.
Yeah, I wasn't kidding with my opening question. For some reason, everything in the show revolves around peen. Turbogranny curses Okarun by stealing his schlong, and later they have to recover his balls individually. Every alien is obsessed with obtaining bananas. The acrobatic Silky says Okarun has tiny dick energy. Like, I'm gay, and even I think the show is weirdly preoccupied with male genitalia. And in a vacuum, this isn't really a bad thing. I actually find the idea of all aliens coming to Earth for peen reasons to be fucking hilarious. And again, I think it's supposed to be a subversion of the fact that most anime are obsessed with breasts, but it would be easier to stomach if, again, it wasn't always aimed at a minor. Like I said, the show has a lot to like, but it can be hard to get past the squick factor. I do enjoy it though, and if the points I brought up aren't deal breakers for you, then I'd say give it a look. You might also find a new guilty pleasure in this weird mess of a show. Also, the OP is stupidly sexy, and you should definitely check out Will Stetson's cover of it, link down below. Thanks for watching, and remember to guard your bananas well.